Hey y'all, it's Alex and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another one color family piece for you and we're going to be doing red. Now this is the last of the ones that were suggested to me over on my Instagram, and I'd like to thank Cemetery Cider for giving me the suggestion of this color. My red selection is actually pretty small. I tend not to use more than like a really dark maroon red. I'm not really a big fan of the lipstick reds, but I think I had a good enough range. This might be my smallest for all of the colors. My greens might be a little bit smaller. However, this one was still very much a challenge to work with since I had to find the balance in all of these dark values. Which is why I kind of made an exception for the inks that I had. I decided that it was still technically using them if I'd water them down and yada yada. Getting into this character design, I noticed that my trend for all of these one color family challenges was fantasy and usually an elf or something along those lines. So I kind of stuck exactly with that. I'm just very inspired by fantasy stuff. I was initially inspired to draw a drow because of all of the dark values, and usually they have pretty dark color palettes, but then I think I was talking with somebody else on Instagram and they mentioned driders. I think this was around the time that I posted my picture of Andalin, one of the characters I play as for a tabletop game, and they mentioned driders and I'm like, ooh, I don't think I've ever drawn a drider. So I wanted to kind of challenge myself to do that. It's definitely an interesting concept. I think I'm gonna need to work more on how I draw spiders. It was a little funky to actually get it to work out in my head, and I don't know how well that translates onto the paper, but it turned out okay. I don't know why exactly she's carrying the cauldron beneath her. I just kind of went with it. There were a lot of parts about this illustration where it was like, this part of the picture feels empty. Let's put an orb there. And I think that kind of is why I was like, it's kind of weird to have an orb beneath her. Cauldron? Cauldron. That seems like something an evil drider lady would have in their subterranean lair. I also really wanted to play around with how many eyes she had, so that was probably my favorite part of this entire piece. Going into the line art, I realized that I had these, I have some Sakura Pigma microns in multiple colors, and two of the ones that I have are red. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do part of the line art with these, because, I mean, it'll use up a part of it, and it's kind of like, I really wish I didn't rely on line art so much to be able to differentiate shapes, but it couldn't exactly be helped, and it fits into my more cartoony style, so yada yada yada. But in the end, I do end up going back and changing this, and unfortunately I haven't had the time to go back and retake glamour shots from the first time I filmed this to the second time that I filmed this, and then for the 3 months that this has been sitting on my computer just waiting to be posted. The bottom part in the spider part in the glamour shots at the very end are a little different, but we're just gonna roll with it because I don't exactly have the time to go and film more glamour shots right now, and I'm very sorry about that. Moving forward through this piece, the biggest problem I had was that the red that I used for the outline for all of the potion bottle bubble things and the tones of reds that I had for everything else were very different. The Sakura Pigma pens are a very orangey red, and pretty much everything else I have is a very violet toned red. I tend to like the violet toned reds a little bit more because they appear more dark in most mediums anyhow, so I feel like this piece doesn't gel as well as the other ones do because of that fact. And the fact that I had to use the all of my inks up at the top there as watered down to be able to differentiate the values between all of my dark red markers, which I absolutely love, and actually use them as lighter tones. It just, I think I lost my train of thought going through that sentence, but I don't have the steam to start that sentence over again. Ooh, you guys, I am having a week. I'm just having a fun week. Since she is in a cave, I wanted to go in with the darkest red that I could manage for the background, so that way she'd, like, look like she's actually underground and in a layer of some kind. I think I ended up using both my my custom mixed Liquitex acrylic ink, which I mixed for Inktober a year ago. Anyhow, I used that for the majority of it, but then I also went in with my Copic R89 dark red, which is my favorite Copic of my entire 100-something that I have. So, because I went so dark in the background, I wanted to make sure that she stayed light, and that unfortunately meant dipping kind of more towards pink with some of the inks. I wish I hadn't have. However, if I didn't do that, this piece would have ended up looking like one big wash of red in the exact same values with maybe a few differing tones. So I sacrificed sticking like full on red with trying to make sure this piece didn't turn out to be garbage. Because I really do like her character design, despite the fact that I need to work on drawing spiders. I'm pretty sure I colored in about 65% of this piece with 4 utensils. Pretty much everything from the eco lines down in the bottom corner up to the the Pilot Friction pen that stops right, like that's the last thing before the Copic markers. Pretty much all of that stuff went into the bubbles in the background, which I feel like is a little bit of a cop-out. I would be interested in going back and doing another piece with these colors, just to see how much of a disaster it would be if I went in with everything is their face value. Everything is the value that they are at their most concentrated point, and just see how much of a mess that is. My swatch sheet already looked pretty much the same tone after the other. I tried differentiating the colors of the legs of the spider to be able to make them look like they're separate, like, items, and to be able to also use more things. Unfortunately, I think it doesn't help the case of the fact that the body of the spider doesn't have the same hard lining that the torso and the belt does. And I think that really hurt it at first. I do go back later. Like, I let this piece sit for a couple of days, and I go back in later to add lining. But I wish I would have been able to find a different workaround, or just have done all of the line art in that orangey red Sakura Pigma, because I want at least one of these pieces to say that I've used literally only the color and not even like a black liner marker. Maybe I'll be able to do that with the blue, maybe I'll be able to do that with the purple, because I think I have liner pens in those colors, but the others might be SOL. Oh, I might also be able to do that with brown. Anyhow, speaking of next colors, based on suggestion, purple is the next one in the series after this one. I haven't filmed it quite yet. I've had a very busy start to my summer, so that might have to wait for a little bit. But based on the vote over on my pink piece, the next in this coloring with One Color Family series, which, God, that's a mouthful. Next in the series is going to be green. Green won that vote at 45% of those who voted. I also did this piece before I did the final piece that you guys saw for the all pink utensils, and this is kind of where I got the idea to do the breaking of the border with the prosthetic legs in that one. this one came first, so... And this is just me going back through and putting line art back in, and I messed up a few times, I will admit, but it's a little hard to really tell. So I guess this series has essentially become me drawing fantasy characters in all one color, and I hope y'all are okay with that. I do draw a lot of fantasy stuff, so I might cool it on the Dungeons and Drawings and Dragons while I still have this series going, but we'll see about that. Purple is next, and then green after that, and we'll save voting for later on those. I hope you guys enjoy this one, however, and if you'd feel so inclined, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon for notifications on my future uploads, and check me out on my other social media handles. Thanks, and I'll see you all in the next one.